Lawyers for the men accused of murdering Stephen Lawrence claim that forensic evidence was contaminated. Jurors heard today that Stephen's blood-stained clothes were kept in the same area as one of the men accused of killing him. Our correspondent Ronke Phillips is following every day of the case for us. She's with us in the studio. Ronke.
Thanks, Natasha. Yes, the defence blames contamination, but the prosecution say that microscopic fibres found on the clothes belonging to Gary Dobson and David Norris prove they were involved in the attack that killed Stephen in 1993. Today was day 5 of the trial.
With the bloodstains clearly visible, the black jacket Stephen Lawrence was wearing on the night he was killed laid out on a sheet on the floor of the charging area at Eltham Police Station. The jacket was photographed and then placed back into an evidence bag and put into a disused cell at the station. DC Robert Crane, who was one of the original investigation team, told the Old Bailey jury that the same cell was later used to store this jacket and other items belonging to the defendant Gary Dobson. Mr. Crane told the jury all the items had been placed in separate evidence bags and then put into larger plastic outer packaging. Gary Dobson's defence barrister Timothy Roberts then questioned Mr. Crane about contamination. Mr. Crane explained how Stephen's items were placed on a raised sleeping area in the cell. Timothy Roberts QC asked, and the items from Gary Dobson's house would have been where? Robert Crane replied, they would have been put by the opposite wall. So at that time in April 1993 there were no restrictions on storage of items from different people in the same location. Robert Crane, no. Stephen's clothing had arrived at the station on the 26th of April. 2 days later, key items of his exhibits were taken from Eltham to a forensic laboratory. Items seized from Gary Dobson's home were not put into the same disused cell until 9 days later. The court also heard from Linda Holden, a former officer who'd been involved in the search of Dobson's home, but had also earlier been to the Lawrence house because she was their police liaison officer. Mr. Roberts wanted to know how she could be sure she hadn't worn any of the same items of clothing to the different addresses. He asked, "Are you absolutely sure and can you swear on oath that you didn't wear the same shirt?" She replied, "Positive." The prosecution alleged that a tiny spot of blood found on the collar of Dobson's jacket has a 1 in a billion chance of not belonging to Stephen. Other fibres from the dead teenager's clothing were allegedly found on a multicoloured cardigan. Both Gary Dobson and David Norris blame contamination and deny murder. The prosecution case against them continues tomorrow.
Well, that story is making the headlines.